This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important update to share with you. Kevin McCarthy and President Biden had their first date. I'll let you know how it went, what they talked about with debt ceiling, and I'll play the video clip from Kevin McCarthy himself. The Fed has just raised the rate again, but inflation is still not over. The SNAP benefits are going to be cut next month. $1,000 checks are going out soon, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more daily, straight-to-the-point updates on matters that financially matter to you. So the Federal Reserve raised rates. Chair Powell says it's premature to declare victory against inflation. So Federal Reserve raised rates by 25 basis points or 0.25%. As was widely expected, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell then held a news conference in which he said that the economy's disinflationary process had started. To be sure, Powell added that it's premature to declare victors against inflation. So inflation still high, slightly going down, but not over yet, and it is the lowest raise that he did do in a while. So that is good. The rates are still going up, but not as much and not as aggressive as before. SNAP benefits will lose their pandemic boost and may face other reductions by March. So SNAP recipients nationwide will stop getting pandemic-era boosts after this month's payments for the Food and Nutrition Service announced. The emergency allotments provided an additional $95 or maximum amount for their household size, whichever was greater. They said this SNAP emergency allotments were a temporary strategy authorized by Congress to help low-income individuals and families deal with the hardships of COVID-19 pandemic, and they're ending now because of congressional action. So I'm curious, did you get used to the higher SNAP benefits? Are you going to deal with lower SNAP benefits if you're on it with the cut going on starting in March? Do you think it should keep going on because inflation and food prices are still up? Let me know your thoughts on that. Kevin McCarthy leaves Biden meeting optimistic about debt talks. So Kevin McCarthy and President Biden met yesterday for the first time after the debt ceiling has been reached. So America's credit card is maxed out, and the Democrats and Republicans are trying to figure out what's going on. So what McCarthy says, I don't want to put any words in his mouth. We had an hour conversation about that. This, I thought, was a very good discussion, and we walked out saying we would continue the discussion. So I always wonder how these conversations go, especially since Kevin McCarthy openly speaking bad about President Biden. Not sure so much President Biden speaking about Kevin McCarthy, but just bashing him all the time, and then they have an hour to be with each other. I wonder how that goes. But anyways, take a look at what Kevin McCarthy had to say after the meeting with President Biden.
Now, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy was at the White House today to meet with Joe Biden and even signaled optimism about a path forward to address the growing national debt and Washington's out-of-control spending. Now, $31 trillion in debt we are passing on or stealing from our kids and grandkids. But can Democrats really be trusted to agree to stop the reckless spending and agree to restore some level of fiscal sanity in Washington? Also, meanwhile, today, Congresswoman Omar is now going after Speaker McCarthy over his efforts to remove her from the Foreign Affairs Committee, calling the push to boot her from the committee, quote, pathetic. Now, the controversy surrounding Omar's committee assignment stems from her past comments that she made about Israel that have been deemed to be anti-Semitic. All right, here to tell us what went on in today's meeting with the president at the White House is House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, thank you for being with us. Let's start with your general impressions. You spent over an hour with the president. What was your general impression of him? Was he alert? Was he aware? Was he up to speed on the issues? How do you feel the meeting went?
I thought the meeting went rather well, because remember what he was saying, Sean. He said he would not negotiate with me. Now, he just spent an hour with me in the Oval Office. He knew the topic we were talking about. He was aware of what we were going on. And remember why this is so important. All your viewers have to understand. The Democrats that controlled Congress for the last 4 years, they increased discretionary spending by 30%, more than $480 billion. They slammed through at the last minute last year this omnibus bill that over the next 10 years will spend $1.5 trillion. So if you want to know where inflation came from, you know where our problems, it's this runaway spending. So we only have two choices, either responsibility are reckless spending. I know where the American people want to go. So for the president who said he wasn't going to negotiate with me, we talked for more than an hour, gave both perspectives. I thought they were respectful. There's times we've had big differences. But then he said, let's continue the conversation. So I took that as a positive. And I think we got 5 months to go, and we can get this done. Yes, sir?
Would you consider what happened in the Oval Office with you and the president today, would you characterize it as a negotiation?
I would. You can't sit down for 1 hour sitting in the Oval Office across from one another talking about the positions for debt ceiling, the economy, and spending without that point. Now, there's times that we strongly disagreed with one another, and that's respectful. But you understand when you sit down with somebody, whether you think at the end of the day you could come to an agreement. Look, this is what the American people want. They want us to be responsible about it. They want to control this spending. I mean, 74% of America says they want spending cuts to find those savings. Look, the Democrats have spent like there's no tomorrow. We want to make sure tomorrow's better than today. If nothing happens in the next 10 years, we will pay $8 trillion just in interest. That's almost $1 trillion a year in interest.
Let me play Joe Biden from 2011 on this very issue involving the debt ceiling and whether negotiations should take place. This is Joe Biden, 2011.
How can you explain the fact that grown men and women are unwilling to budge up till now, and still some of them are still unwilling to budge, by taking an absolute position, my way or no way? I predict to you that a lot of those new members who came here with my way or the highway, they'll either be on the highway or they'll learn that they have to have compromise.
Okay, those were his words about the very same subject. You might want to remind him and tell him his good friend Sean Hannity found that for him. Here's what I'd like to ask you, though. I believe that the Democrats are making a calculation, and I believe their calculation is simple. They don't believe that you and your caucus of 222 Republicans will unite behind a single plan that will hold the line on the issue of fiscal responsibility. Now, that is a promise that you made and most of the Republicans running have made. I've talked to your colleagues. There are at least 15 plans out there how to negotiate this debt ceiling. How confident are you that the entire caucus will unite behind one plan and stay united when they start accusing you of the U.S. and the debt and the full faith and credit of the U.S. government is hanging in the balance because Republicans are demanding fiscal responsibility? Will you all hold the line? Are you confident that will happen?
I'm confident because I know one thing that our conference will not do. We will not raise the debt ceiling, simply just raise it with no savings, with no change in policies, with no direction to change the trajectory that puts us on a path to balance. Now, we had a conference today educating everybody exactly where we are. We'll continue to have conferences each week, the special ones, just talking about the debt ceiling, because this is too important for the future of our country and our children. Remember, the Democrats were in power for 4 years. They increased discretionary spending more than $400 billion. When Republicans were in the majority twice as long for 8 years, do you know how much discretionary spending went up? Zero. It went down $10 billion. So we have the credibility to make this happen. But at $31 trillion debt, our debt is larger than our economy. We have never been this size of debt to GDP since World War II.
It's 96%, which, by the way, puts us in line with a lot of third world nations. But let me be very specific. You are confident that your entire caucus will rally around a single fiscal responsibility plan and hold the line that the Republicans will not go along with a debt ceiling increase unless they have fiscal responsibility measures with it. Is that a promise?
Yes, because look, we have watched what the Democrats have done. They brought us inflation. All their movement of all this runaway spending not just brought us inflation, hurt the supply chain. They changed the policies so people would stay home and not go back to work. The damage that they have done just in the last 4 years, we have to correct and get us onto a path. Look, anybody will tell you, no matter what study, U.S. general or not, the greatest threat to America is the size of our debt. And we've got to correct it, and this is the window to do it.
Well, it's either all 222 Republicans stand together and unite and win, or else the Democrats will win the argument their way. Let me ask you about three members of Congress, Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, and Congresswoman Omar. And let me play an answer you gave NPR at a press conference you had.
He's gotten elected by his district. So, okay, let me be very clear and respectful to you. You ask me a question. When I answer it, it's the answer to your question. You don't get to determine whether I answer your question or not, okay? In all respect. Thank you. No, let's answer her question. You just raised a question. I'm going to be very clear with you. The Intel Committee is different. You know why? Because what happens in the Intel Committee, you don't know. What happens in the Intel Committee, although the secrets are going on in the world, other members of Congress don't know. What did Adam Schiff do as the chairman of the Intel Committee? What Adam Schiff did, use his power as a chairman and lie to the American public. Even the Inspector General said it. When Devin Nunes put out a memo, he said it was false. When we had a laptop, he used it before an election to be politics and say that it was false and said it was the Russians, when he knew different.
What are your thoughts? Are things going to get better with the debt ceiling? Do you think President Biden and McCarthy are going to come to an agreement, or is it going to be like deja vu when, the whole stimulus debate, what was that, back in 2020 or 2021? It seems so long ago, when they kept negotiating and dragging things out. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know your thoughts on that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. And what I was gonna say is just enjoy the moments right now. Don't be like maybe I'm not good for this. Just do it. Something, if you want to do it, then you can. Because it's just a one-time thing, because you should always do something now than always later, because then it might not be the right time and it might not be the right ending. You might have people or
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. So yesterday I got to play pickleball for the first time. It was amazing. Had so much fun. So it was 3.5 months since I was able to play, was able to not run, but sort of hobble around. One of my friends on the court was making fun of me, saying it looked like I was dancing because my arms were up and just the way I was moving. But anyways, step by step, right? So getting there. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out any of my other videos, click right up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.